Please chant. This is on page 172 of this book, The Universal Prayers, which is all the prayers. And English translation is on page 173. This stanza which I am going to chant is from Shiva Mahimna Stotram. This has come before. So if you have the book, let us all chant. Om Asitagiri Samam Syat Kajjalam Sindhupatre Surataru Varashakha Lekani Patramurvi Likati Yadi Grihitva Sharada Sarvakalam Tadapi Tava Gunanam Ishaparam Nayati. Om. Using the biggest branch of the celestial tree, Kalpataru, as the writing instrument, the ocean as the ink pot, and the blue mountain as the ink, and using the whole earth as the writing surface, if the goddess of learning, Saraswati, Sharada, were to write your glories until eternity, even then, O Lord, your glories cannot be fully described. Infinite are their glories. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may there be peace in our hearts, peace and joy. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. So we'll continue. 1 second. Okay. Last time we were doing second chapter, shloka number 33. That's where we left. In this segment of his teachings, Bhagwan Sri Krishna is persuading Arjuna to get up, stand up, and face the problem confronting him, namely the war with the Kauravas, which had become inevitable. And when the problem is there, one has to stand up and face it. No use trying to running away from it. If you run away from a problem, it will chase us wherever we go. So Arjuna's problem was how does he persuade himself to kill all the Kauravas, Drona, Bhishma, etc. That we know. So these are all various ways, arguments that Sri Krishna gives to persuade Arjuna to do his duty. We have to do our duty, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, easy or difficult. We have to face the situation and do our duty. That's the main idea in these few shlokas in this part. So we will continuing that line of teaching. We'll go to shloka number 34. Akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya cha kirtir maranadatirichyate. Akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya cha kirtir maranadatirichyate. Translation: all people will recount your everlasting infamy. For one that is honored, for an honorable person, infamy is worse than death. For a Kshatriya, as we saw from the 18th chapter last time, one of the essential qualities of a Kshatriya, a warrior, is to face the enemy in the battle, on the battleground. The worst thing that can happen to a warrior, Kshatriya, is to run away from the battlefield, run away from the problem. Apalavayanam. Yuddhe cha pyapalavayanam. Last time we saw. Palayana means running away, escaping, trying to escape the problem. Apalayana means not running away, standing up and facing the problem. That is the first and most honorable duty of a Kshatriya. Kshatriya means a person who is in the defense category. Kshatriya means a born warrior, but now it is by choice. People join the defense forces by choice. Earlier it was by hereditary. A Kshatriya son was a Kshatriya, like that. So here, if you don't do that, if you run away from the problem, this applies to us also in the ordinary day-to-day life. Day-to-day life, we all face problems. Family problems in the family, problems in the workplace, problems elsewhere. Always there is something, one thing or the other that we have to face. Now the teaching here is not to run away from the problem. Face it, stand up, face it, see what it is, and confront it. Running away is not a solution. It won't work at all. Whatever the problem is, big or small, easy or difficult, we have to stand up and face it and confront it and do what is necessary. That is the essential teaching of the Bhagavad Gita in this segment. If we don't do that, especially for a Kshatriya, here Sri Krishna says, all those people who honored you so far, Arjuna was a very well-known warrior. He was renowned for his prowess in warfare. People were praising him for his abilities, for his prowess, for his skill, for his courage and strength. Now, all the very same people who used to honor him and speak highly of him, they will start speaking ill of him. Infamy will come. Infamy is worse than death for a Kshatriya. The last part of verse 34, Akirtihi maranad atirichyate. Akirti means infamy. Kirti means fame. For a Kshatriya, Akirti means infamy is worse than death. Marana means death. Atirichyate means exceeds. Infamy is worse than death. It's better to die facing the enemy in the battlefield for a Kshatriya, then he will go to Swarga, go to heaven, doing his duty, than to escape and run away. So he says, Tepi, those very people who were praising you before, Te avyayam akirtim kathayishyanti, first line. Avyaya means unending, never-ending infamy. It's not 1 day or 2 days. They will remember you forever as Arjuna who ran away from the battlefield. Now we remember Arjuna for his courage and his success. Now the very same people would be talking endlessly about his lack of courage or about his running away from the problem, infamy, in very bad terms. Avyayam, te means ever. Avyayam means unending. Akirtem means apakhyati, infamy. Kathayeshanti, bhutani, all those people who are praising you so far for your valor, for your courage, for your skill, the very same people will forever, avyayam, for a long time to come, they will never forget it. That he was such a coward, he ran away from the battlefield. Sambhavitasya, of a person who was known for his good qualities. Sambhavita means a person known for good qualities, a noble person, and you will incur everlasting infamy. Therefore, you should not abandon your duty and run away. You should face the problem and stand up and fight. And the same theme continues in the next verse, number 35 also. Bhayadranadu paratam mansyante tvam maharatha yesham chatvam bahumato bhutva yasyasi laghavam. Verse number 35. Bhayadranadu paratam mansyante tvam maharatha yesham chatvam bahumato bhutva yasyasi laghavam. The Maharatha. Maharatha means a great warrior. In the olden days, there used to be four types of warriors on the battlefield. People who are infantry, the people who are standing with arms in their hands, bow and arrow and sword and all those things, the infantry people. And then behind them, there were the horse people. What they call cavalry, and they also horseback riding people. They were there with their weapons in their hands. And behind them, there were the elephants, and behind them, there were the chariot people. Arjuna was in the chariot. And they were holding their weapons in their hand. From the chariot, they would fight. So these four kinds of people were there. Maharatha means a person in a chariot who can face 1,000 other charioteers in the opposite side. So much powerful, outstanding charioteer. Maharatha, those people who were the Maharathas, and the Kaurava said Karna was well-known Maharatha. Karna, Bhishma, Drona, they were all known as Maharathas, the great warriors of outstanding prowess. What will they think of you? Bhayad, Ranad, Uparatam, Mansante. They think that you run away out of fear. Bhaya means fear. If Arjuna does not want to fight, all his competitors who used to praise him so far, they will misinterpret your unwillingness to fight as out of fear. Out of fear, seeing us all the great Kaurava army, 18 divisions, Arjuna became terrified and he ran away from the battlefield. That's what they will think. They will interpret that way, your unwillingness to fight. That's not the real reason. Arjuna was not afraid. He just didn't want to kill the relatives. Dilemma was there. But they will interpret it that way. Karna and all those Maharathas on the other side, on the Pandava side also, they also will think that, oh, Arjuna, why did he run away? Instead of fighting, he was afraid of the great Kaurava army. Like this, they may misinterpret you, and that infamy will continue to bother you for a long time to come. Yesham chetvam bahumato, the very same people who honored you, praised you for your valor, they will think ill of you. Bhutva yasyasi laghamam. Laghavam means light feeling of being slighted by other people. Laghu means slight. Those who thought of you as a great warrior, they will think ill of you. They will think of you as a small person. He was not as great as we thought that he was, like that. You will fall in the esteem. Laghavam means low esteem. He was held in high esteem so far, but hereafter they will think of him with a person of not much strength, not much courage, run away out of fear. They will misunderstand, misinterpret like that, and you will lose your esteem that you had gained all these years. So they have to fight. Now verse number 36. See how in how many different ways, using how many different arguments Krishna is persuading Arjuna to do is. All this is can be summarized in only 3 words, as I said last time. Do your duty. That applies to all of us, whether we are not in the battlefield like Arjuna was. Our battles are small. Our day-to-day battles are not like Arjuna's battle involving life and death situation. We are not like that generally. Although it may happen in case of extreme, very severe sickness, etc., question of life and death will be there. Ordinarily not severe problem. But whatever the problem is, big or small, in whatever field of our endeavor, our life, we have to stand up and face it with courage. Then only we will be doing our duty. Otherwise, we'll be abandoning our duty. Abandoning duty for anybody is very bad. They are called kartavya bhrashta. Kartavya means the duty we have to do. Bhrashta means one who fails to do his duty. If we fail to do our duty, whatever the duty may be will be not doing the right thing. So verse number 36. Avachavadamscha bahun vadishyanti tava hitah nindantastav samarthyam tato dukkataram nukim. 36th verse. Avachavadamscha bahun vadishyanti tava hitah nindantastav samarthyam tato dukkataram nukim. Your enemies will hurl many unmentionable insults at you. Enemies bent on downgrading your competence. What can be more painful than that for a person like you? So Sri Krishna is saying here, Tava means your, meaning Arjuna's. Ahita, Hita means a person who is favorable to us. Ahita means our enemies. Sri Krishna is saying to Arjuna, your enemies, Tava Ahitaha, Vadishyanti, they will speak. What will they speak about you? What will they talk about you? Bahun avachavadam, many unmentionable bad things, insulting things they will speak about you for a long time to come. Tava samarthyam nindantaha. Samarthyam means prowess, ability in warfare. Tava nindanta means they will blame, they will criticize your ability in warfare. He was known as the greatest warrior, but hereafter he will be spoken ill of. People will speak ill of him. They will not speak nicely about you. Tava samartyam nindantaha, they will speak ill of you. Unmentionable insults about you, they will speak. Tato dukkataram nuchem. What is more painful than that? Tata means other than that, what is more painful than being spoken ill of by other people, by enemies? For Arjuna, for a Kshatriya, his pride in his ability is very important. The ability to stand up and fight the enemy, that is very important for a Kshatriya. The same quality is applicable to us also. Though we are not on the battlefield, our battles are small, but still we have to stand. Whatever is the problem that confronts us in any field of life, we have to stand up and face it and do what is necessary. If we try to escape, thinking the problem is difficult, then we will incur infamy and we will become kartavya bhrashta, we will fail in our duty, and that is not good for us either in this life or in the hereafter. So that is another argument. Face the brute. In other words, in these shlokas, Sri Krishna is conveying one message. It has a nice story behind it. Once Swami Vivekananda was traveling somewhere in the northern part of India, and he was walking with nothing in his hands. And there were a lot of big monkeys were there in that area. Huge monkeys. They were aggressive monkeys. And they started chasing him. Big monkeys can be quite ferocious. So the crowd of monkeys, they started chasing Swamiji. Swamiji became afraid, started running. The faster he ran, the faster they chased him. They would not leave him alone. They could not escape them. So when all this was happening, there was this sadhu, local person, a sadhu, he was standing and watching all these things. Then sadhu calls out to Swamiji, "Hey sadhu, face the brute." 3 words he said. These are exact words in the story. Swamiji recalls this story. Swami Vivekananda tells this story. Face the brute, that sadhu said to Swamiji. So Swamiji understood the message. The Swami who was running away from the monkeys immediately turned around, stood firmly, and looked at the monkeys in their face like this one. Suddenly, the monkeys retreated and ran away from him. So the story is called Face the Brute. This is in Swamiji's lectures and also Swami Vivekananda's biography. We have to face the brute. Whatever the brute it is that is confronting us in our life, we have to face the brute. Running away from it is going to aggravate the problem. We are not going to escape from the problem. If you run away, it will chase us and it will become a bigger problem. Therefore, as the monkeys were chasing, the faster Swamiji ran, the faster they also ran behind him. Once he turned around and looked at them in the face and stood firmly facing them, they retreated and left him alone. That is what Sri Krishna is saying to Arjuna. You have to face the enemy. Stand up and do your duty now. Don't try to escape your duty. It will not bode well for you. It's not good for you. So that is the verse number 36. Now we go to verse number 37. Here, Sri Krishna is giving another message. Arjuna was in a win-win situation, but he was not looking at it that way. Arjuna didn't have the proper perspective of the problem that was facing him. Sri Krishna corrects it. Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, whether you win or lose, you will gain, you will win. Even if you lose in the battle, if you get killed, you go to heaven. Doing your duty, if somebody gets killed, then you will go to heaven. If you win, you will get the kingdom. In either way, you will not lose. You are a win-win situation. Arjuna was seeing it as a lose-lose situation. How to kill these people? If you kill these people, the kingdom will come and will be tainted by their blood. We don't feel good about it, killing them and enjoying the kingdom. We don't feel like enjoying it. If they kill us, then we will be die. Either way, it is bad. He was seeing it as a lose-lose situation. Sri Krishna make him look the other way, 180 degrees. He says you are in a win-win situation. If you win in the war, you will enjoy the kingdom, rightfully earned kingdom. If you lose in the war, you will go to heaven. Either way, you are going to win. Why are you not standing up and do your duty? So verse number 37, very interesting verse. Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim tasmaduttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchayaha. Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim tasmaduttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchayaha. If you get killed in the war, you will go to heaven, you will gain heaven. If you are victorious in the war, you will enjoy this world, this kingdom. Therefore, O Arjuna, stand up, determined to fight. Krita nishchaya means resolution. With firm resolution, I am going to do this. I am going to face the problem. I am going to do what is necessary. I am not going to run away from it. That firm resolution, nishchaya. Krita nishchaya means make up your mind with firm resolution, resolve. Make a resolution that you are going to do your duty, do what is needed, take care of the problem. Kritanishchayaha, determined to fight. Yuddhaya Kritanishchaya, to fight. Determined to fight, with a firm resolution to fight. O Kaunteya, Uttishta, stand up. Uttishta, stand up and face the enemy and do your duty, what is necessary, difficult or easy. Even if your life is online, it's better to die doing your duty than to escape once, run away from the duty. Hatava, hata means if you get killed. Swargam prapsasi, you will go to heaven. If the belief was for the Kshatriyas, if they in a Dharma Yuddha, righteous war, if they get killed, they will go to heaven. The same thing applies to others also in any other endeavor of human life, field of human life. If you die doing your duty, you will go to the heaven. Better to die than doing your duty than to escape the duty. Jitva, if you win in the war, mahim bhokshase. Mahim means earth or kingdom. Bhokshase, you will enjoy the kingdom. If you get killed in the war as a Kshatriya, you will go to heaven. And if you win in the war, you will get the kingdom and you will rightfully earn kingdom, you will enjoy that one. Therefore, either case, you will not lose. You are in a win-win situation. Tasmad uttishta, therefore, stand up. Yuddhaya Kritanishchayaha. Firmly make a resolution that you will going to fight. So this is a very nice persuasive arguments on the part of Sri Krishna to persuade Arjuna to do his duty. If one does not do one's duty, nothing can be gained. We lose everything. There is a commenting on this verse, Swami Ranganathanandaji has quoted a nice Subhashita. Subhashita means an old adage, a statement, usually in the form of a couplet in Sanskrit. So many thousands of Subhashitas are there. They convey the wisdom. So this Subhashita that Swami Ranganathanandaji quotes, I had learned it in my high school days, but it again came back here. It is very nice verse. Ujjamena hi siddhyanti karyani na manorathaihi nahi suptasya simmasya pravishanti mukhe mrigaha. Very nice verse. Simply by thinking in our mind that I will do this, I will do that, will not accomplish anything. We have to stand up and actually translate into action our resolutions, our decisions. Udyamena. Udyama means industrial nature, diligent effort. Such a person is a Udyami. Udyamena karyani siddhyanti. Our effort, our work will be done only when we stand up and do the work, put the effort, required effort, with firm resolution. And diligently, if you work only, you can get the result. Manoratehi na siddhyanti. Simply by thinking, oh, I will do this, I will do that, daydreaming, I will achieve this, I will do that, that will not accomplish anything. He gives an example. Suptasya simmasya mukhe. Simha means lion. Supta means a sleeping lion. In its face, mrigaha na pravishanti. The deer and other animals, small, will not go, and they will enter into the face of into the mouth of the Simha. The lion has to chase the prey and capture it and eat it. If he sits down there opening his mouth, or maybe some deer will come and fall into my mouth, we'll be waiting there for it until it dies. That will not accomplish. Effort is necessary. The message in this verse is, person has to be diligent. We have to stand up and do what is necessary. Simply daydreaming, I'll do this, I'll do that, that will not accomplish anything. So Arjuna, Krishna says, Vidhaya Kritanishchayaha. You should stand up with a firm resolution that you will fight and start fighting. Why are you wasting time? Now the topic changes. We come across one of the most important verses in the whole Gita. So far, until verse number 37, Sri Krishna was using various arguments to persuade Arjuna to do his duty. Do your duty. That's summary of these previous 7-8 verses. Now we are introduced to a very, very important new topic, a new philosophy of life. Not new, it's old philosophy, but it is introduced here for the first time in Gita. It will come several times in the Gita. Please mark this verse number 38 as one of the 5-star marks, 5-star slokas in the Gita. There are so many of these we will come across. What was the earlier one? 5-star sloka, verse number 20 in 2nd chapter. And 2 more verses will come in the 2nd chapter. 5-star verses will come. 38 and then 47, 48. We will study them when we get to them. But these are very, very important. We have to study them again and again. The arguments and all those things, somebody is only do your duty. Stand up on your duty. That's all we have to grasp. But here, this verse 38 has implication for our daily moment by moment life. Everything that we have, every moment of our life, this has implication. That's very important to us. So let me chant verse number 38. Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papamavapsyasi. First line especially, very important. Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papamavapsyasi. Translation is, considering with an equal eye on pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat, strive to fight. Thus you will incur no sin. One reason why Arjuna didn't want to fight was, if I kill all these people, I will incur sin. Like this one. That argument is not tenable in that situation, because it is a law enforcement situation. If there is a police officer and he is on his patrol in his car and he sees a person breaking into somebody's house or mugging somebody, what the police officer has to do? He has to arrest that person using force if necessary. Even if that person happens to be his own son or brother, it does not matter who he is. He has to do his duty. Arjuna was in that situation. The relatives were all, the people on the other side, all their relatives, close friends and brothers, cousins. Still, it is because they were fighting, intent on fighting, not sharing the kingdom, Arjuna as a Kshatriya has to defend his rights, not only his rights, he subjects that Pandava subjects. Pandavas a lot of people on their side. They have to be protected. So that is Yuddha Yujyasva. Stand up and fight, do your duty. You will not incur sin. Papam na apsasi. You will not incur sin. Even if the duty is unpleasant, requiring use of force, if it has to be done, it has to be done. Like disciplining a child, not out of anger or hatred, but in the interest of the child, sometimes it will become necessary to discipline the child. Because the child requires that treatment. Why? In the interest of the child, not to hurt the child, but to help the child to know what is right and wrong and to behave properly, learn proper behavior. In the same way, you have to do your duty, though it is unpleasant, and you will not incur sin. The second line, that we leave it. First line is where we have to pay importance, because that is implication to our daily life. Sukha dukkhe same kritva. Sama means equal. Same kritva, considering with equanimity, equally, sukha and dukkha. Sukha and dukkha means pleasure and pain, happiness and unhappiness. Sukha means happiness or pleasure, dukkha means unhappiness or pain. Sukha dukkhe same kritva. In life, we encounter both. Nobody's life is only full of sukha, happiness. Everybody's life is a mixture of sukha and dukkha. Whether he is a king or a powerful person or a president or a rich person or knowledgeable person or scholar, whoever it may be, he or she may be, Everybody's life is a mixture of pain and pleasure. We know that from our own experience. Nobody has to tell us. Each one of us know from our own experience. We had good times, we had bad times. We have some good things in our life, we have some bad things in our life. Everybody's life is the same. Sukha dukkha samekratva, considering equally sukha and dukkha, pleasure and pain, happiness and unhappiness. Labha alabha samekratva. Labha means gain, alabha means loss. Sometimes we gain something, sometimes we lose something, especially in business. You will not always make profit on every deal. In some deals you will make profit, some deals you will lose. Same thing in life. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes you gain, sometimes you lose. Jaya ajayu samekratva. Three things are given here. Sukha dukkha, labha alabha, jaya ajaya. Jaya means success, ajaya means failure. Sometimes we succeed in what we do. Sometimes, in spite of our very best effort, we still do not succeed. We fail to reach our goal. This is the case in everybody's. We will come back to this topic of success and failure in verse number 48 later. But now, let us note that we have to remain equanimous under all these varying circumstances in life, which are inevitable in everybody's life. Whether it is pain or pleasure, happiness or unhappiness, gain or loss, success or failure, we have to remain calm and accept both with equanimity. Equanimity in under all these conditions. This topic of equanimity is very important. It comes again and again in the Gita. It comes in this 5th chapter, comes in 13th chapter, it comes in 12th chapter. Every time it comes, because of its importance, you have to pay special attention to this one. Everyday life creates situations where our equanimity is tested. If we become easily upset when something goes wrong, then we will not be able to deal with the situation creatively. If we remain calm, we can deal with the situation creatively. Effectively, efficiently, we can deal with the situation if we remain calm. If we become angry or upset or bitter or sad, then you will not be able to deal with the situation objectively, creatively, and effectively. So we have to remain calm. First thing is to remain calm. See what is the problem, and then think what is the best way to deal with the situation and do that one and engage ourselves in activity. Sukha dukkhe samye kritva, labha alabho samye kritva, jaya ajayu samye kritva. Considering equally with equanimity. Equanimity means sameness of mind. Samatvam yaga vachate. That will come also in this Bhagavad Gita. Samatvam means equanimity under all circumstances. Being upset easily, some people get very easily upset. Even a small thing happens, they become upset. During meals, there is a little bit less salt in sambar. The person becomes very angry and starts scolding the person who prepared the meal. So what is this small thing? This is not worth getting upset about. Take the small things in stride. To be able to take things in stride and move forward and not be overly upset by small things in life, that is not good. We have to remain calm, whatever be the situation. However serious the situation may be, we should not become upset and lose balance. Then we will not be able to deal with the situation effectively if we become upset. If we remain calm, then we can efficiently, effectively, creatively deal with the situation. So to remain calm under all circumstances. I will give one cross. There are many cross references. One cross reference I want you to make a note of. Chapter 5, verse number 20. Same thing will come there in many places. Chapter 5, verse number 20. There Sri Krishna says the same thing. There he says, Na prahrushyet priyam prapya, nodvijet prapya cha priyam, sthira buddhirasam modo, brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. Very nice verse, 520. There he says, priyam prapya na prahrushyet. Priyam means something pleasant, something that we like. Sometimes things happen, something that we like happens and we are happy. Na prahrushyet. If you succeed, if you gain, if you are happy, then we should not become too much exultant and start celebrating in a very grand manner. Priyam prapya. Apriyam prapya. Apriyam means unpleasant. Something you don't like, something unpleasant happens, which happens on a daily basis. Apriyam prapya. Now udvijay. Udyaga means excitement, turbulence. Our mind should not become too much unduly disturbed by when something unpleasant happens. We should remain calm under all circumstances. See, and this happens when many people gather together, they lose balance very quickly. Mob mentality. I give an example. Some time ago, there was a soccer match. I think it was in South America. Yeah, they are great fans of soccer. They are very good at it. Soccer match is a game, right? It's a play. There are two teams playing with each other. One team has to win, one team has to lose. That is given. No, so they not win. Both will not lose. One team will, so it either win or lose. So one team won, and the other team lost. The fans of the team that lost in the match, they became so upset when they started beating the team members and the umpire. And the fans of the team which won, they became so happy they started celebrating, drinking, and getting arrested and throwing stones and turning out cars and setting fire to buildings and looting shops. They were celebrating. They were happy because their team won. The other team, they started beating up their umpire and their players because their team lost. See, this is not right. Win or lose, winning and losing is a part of life. Everybody's life. We're not always in that situation, but small things happen. Supposing your child gets a B grade, and some parents become so upset. What is B is okay, but they want the child to get all grades A grade only in all courses. That's not always, it's not healthy attitude. Sometimes you get B, sometimes you get A. It's okay. Failure and success, the child has to learn that lesson. You're conveying the wrong message. You should get A in every grade. If you put a condition like that, they're putting a lot of pressure and tension on the child, and child will grow up thinking that it has to always win in life. But does not happen. When you in working life, if there is failure, then child will not be able to, is not ready to accept that failure. They're not giving the proper training. So we have to learn to accept success and failure, good and bad, with equanimity in life, whatever be the nature of circumstances. The message of equanimity in one word, this one number 38 means practice equanimity. Equanimity comes again and again in many places in the Gita. Very important message. This is a message which is applicable to everybody under all circumstances. It's a universal message of eternal validity. And it is meant for all people, not only for Arjuna. Sri Krishna uses Arjuna as a medium, as an instrument, vehicle, through which to convey this eternal philosophy of life. This philosophy of remaining equanimous in pain and pleasure, success and failure, gain and loss, is an eternal message, a practical philosophy of life, relevant at all times for everybody, whether you are American or Indian or male or female or young or old. This message is relevant to everybody, it applicable to everybody, universal applicability. This meant for all of us, but Sri Krishna conveys this to Arjuna, using him as a medium. He is conveying the message to all of humanity for all time to come. It was the message then relevant then, it's relevant today, it will be relevant 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now. So that is the importance of this message. Now, the 38, Sri Krishna changes the topic. He says, 39 onwards, the topic is practical Yoga Shastra. In the Bhagavad Gita, two kinds of knowledge are conveyed. You remember them? In the introduction, we talked about it. If you go to the end of any chapter, at the end of every chapter, there is a concluding statement. The concluding statement is called what? Colophon. Colophon. Concluding statement at the end of every chapter is called a colophon. In that colophon, if you go to end of any chapter, it says, "Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Karma Yoga Nama Tritiyo Dhyaya." Like this, it comes at the end of third chapter. That means the Gita has the essence of the Upanishads. Bhagavad Gita is Upanishads. What the Upanishads teach, Gita also teaches. Plus some more, which the Upanishad do not emphasize. What are the two things that Gita teaches? Yoga, Adhyatma Vidyayam. Adhyatma Vidyayam, knowledge of the self. Knowledge of self is saw in the second chapter. One very important verse in the second chapter, which came before, verse number 20. That was a 5-star verse. There, Sri Krishna talks about the self. Who are we? We are not the body and the mind. We are the self. We are the Atman. That Atman is eternal, infinite, pure consciousness, Satchidananda. We are that. That kind of knowledge is called Adhyatma Vidya. Knowledge of the self. That is one kind of knowledge that Gita conveys. But more important than that one, Yoga Shastra. Second kind of knowledge is Yoga Shastra. Adhyatma Vidya, Yoga Shastra. Two kinds of knowledge are presented in the Bhagavad Gita by Sri Krishna. Adhyatma Vidya, knowledge of the self. Yoga Shastra means practical instruction on how to succeed in daily life, day-to-day life, how to succeed. And also in spiritual life, how to reach our spiritual goal of illumination, moksha, liberation or illumination. What practical things have to be done. Not theory, but practical. Yoga Shastra. From here onwards, 39 onwards, Yoga Shastra, practical instruction comes. Up to 38, it is all Adhyatma Vidya. You are the Atman, you are not the body, you are not the mind, you have to do your duty, you will not incur sin, all those things were said. But here it changes the topic, the rest of the chapter. So let us do verse number 39. Esha te bihita sankhye Buddhir timam srunu Buddhya yukto yaya partha Karma bandham prahasyasi. Very nice verse. Yesha te bhita sankhye Buddhir tvimam srunu Buddhya yukto yaya partha Karma bandham prahasyasi. The translation is, it may be a little bit different in your book. This knowledge of the Sankhya has so far been imparted to you. Now, listen to the knowledge of yoga, by acquiring which, O Arjuna, you will discard the bondage of works. It's very interesting verse. There are a lot of things here. Sankhya means not the Sankhya philosophy. It is Sankhya here means Jnana Yoga. And second chapter is called Sankhya Yoga, the science of knowledge of the self. Sankhya Yoga means knowledge of the self. So far, Yashate Abhihita. Abhihita means it has been conveyed to you. It has, so far, I have told you about the nature of the self, especially verse number 20, 21, 22. All those verses convey the nature of the infinite self that we truly are. Now the topic hereafter becomes Karma Yoga. Buddhya yukto yaya partha. Buddhi means Buddhi Yoga. How to intelligently perform all our duties. In what way? Practical instructions are given from this sloka onwards until sloka number 54. Imam Shrunu, now Buddhi Yoga Imam Shrunu, now listen to Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means Yoga Shastra. Yoga Shastra means how to perform our daily duties in such a way that it leads to liberation and freedom. Work is a double-edged sword. Any work is it can be turned into an opportunity for freedom, or it can be made into an opportunity for failure and bondage. work is neutral. If work is done properly with the proper attitude, it will lead us to freedom. Freedom means moksha, liberation. Work is spiritual practice. If work is done properly as a spiritual practice, it leads us to freedom or liberation. If the same work is done with the improper attitude, with selfishness and attachment, the same work will lead us to more bondage, will become more bound. That is what Krishna is saying in this verse. Buddhya yukto yaya buddhya, by knowing which, by following which philosophy of work, science of work, karma bandham prahasyasi, you will become free from the bondage of work. Bondage of work means if you work with improper attitude, we'll learn improper attitude, proper attitude in the subsequent verses. What is the right attitude for doing every work? What's the wrong attitude to do every work? We'll study that in the remaining, the next few shlokas, next segment. By knowing how to work, we can achieve freedom. By working with improper attitude, we'll get more deeply bound in bondage, stuck in bondage. So from hereafter, Sri Krishna is going to explain to us how to perform our work, the philosophy of work, the science of work. The science of how work can lead to spiritual realization, practical philosophy is being taught in the Bhagavad Gita, which is not very much emphasized at all in the Upanishads. Upanishad talks about Adhyatma Vidya, knowledge self, Brahmani, you are a Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, you are that, all those things Upanishads say. Gita says that plus the practical philosophy of day-to-day life. Day-to-day you have to so many, from morning, from the time you wake up until you go to bed, so many things have to be done. Work in the family, work in the workplace, work elsewhere you have to do. Deal with so many things. How to deal with every event, every small item you have to do. If we do it properly with the proper attitude, we will get liberation. If we do it with the wrong attitude, we'll get more deeply bound in the mire of life. That is the philosophy. Okay, now we go to the very important verse, number 40. A positive message of Vedanta, verse number 40. Neha bhikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Very positive message. Neha bhikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. The translation is, here in the field of karma yoga, there is no loss of effort, nor is there any sin or disadvantage involved. Even a little of this righteous dharma practiced delivers us from the great evil. Means, let's explain with two examples. Na viha. Neha is made up of two words. Na viha. Iha means here, in this matter. Na iha, in this matter. Abhikrama nasha asti. Abhikrama means beginning any endeavor, starting any project, any work. Nasha asti. Supposing, let's stop there. Neha abhikrama nasha asti. It means here, there is no loss of effort. You begin some activity, some cases what happens, if you don't complete it, everything will be lost. In some cases, whatever little you do will be saved, and then whatever next you do after some interval, it will be cumulative, it won't be lost. There are two kinds of activities. Like two examples I'll give. One kind of activity where nothing will be lost. Whatever little bit you do, even the little bit you do, will be saved, and whatever else you do will be added to that one. For example, long distance travel, long distance road travel. I'll give this example before. Supposing you decide to drive from Boston to Los Angeles. You want to visit the Boston Vedanta Society, you want to go to Hollywood Vedanta Society. and you decide to drive because you have a lot of time on your hands. Otherwise, you can take a flight in 5 hours and go there. You decide to drive. Now you cannot drive from Boston to Los Angeles in one day. It takes 5 days. So here there is no loss of effort. Supposing first day you start morning from day number 1, starting from Boston. You go up to say Philadelphia. Night, evening comes, you can't drive at night. So you stay in a motel at a friend's house or relative's house, Philadelphia. Next morning, day number 2, when you start driving, from where do you start driving? From Boston or from Philadelphia? From Philadelphia. Then you go to, say, Cleveland or someplace. Another 10 hours, 8 hours you drive, or Pittsburgh, somewhere you go. A little bit more you travel. Somewhere in Ohio, East Town. Day number 3, when you start driving, from where do you start driving? Not from Boston, not from Philadelphia, but from where you stop at the end of day number 2. So everything is cumulative, nothing is lost. Even if you drive a little bit, only 2 hours one day you drive, but even that little bit is saved. That is the gain advantage in Karma Yoga. If you work in the proper way, your effort will not be lost. Even a little bit you do, you can add to it. It will be cumulative, and you reach the goal at the end of when you finish the journey. Another example is, supposing you do agriculture, farming. Shankara gives us example in the commentary. You plow the land and you put the fertilizer, you put the seeds, and then you wait for the rain. And then if the rain comes at the proper time, in proper quantity and the proper time, there will be a bumper crop and you will be happy. Supposing there is not enough rain, drought, or too much rain. In either case, the crop will fail. It will be washed out if there is too much rain, or it will not give any harvest at all if there is not enough rain. Whatever effort you did will be totally lost. All the plowing and all the seeds you put in, all the fertilizer, everything will be lost. No crop will come. So much hard work, so much money, everything, effort you spend. That's the nature of the work. But in Karma Yoga, if you do it anything properly, there'll be no loss of effort. Even a little bit if you do in the spiritual practice, especially in the field of spiritual practice, even if a little bit if you do only 108 repetition of one mala, if you do japa, it will not be lost. Next day you can do 2 malas and it will be 3 malas in 2 days. Next day you do 3 malas, it will be how many? 5 malas in 3 days. Like this, it cumulative, so on adding. Until you reach the goal, then you reach the goal. Nehadukramala shosti. That means there is no loss of effort in spiritual practice. Unlike in worldly endeavor, sometimes whatever effort you do will be lost if you don't succeed at all. That won't happen here in spiritual life. Second part of first line, pratyavayo na vidyate. Pratyava means diminution, reduction, or adverse side effect. There is no adverse side effect in spiritual practice. But in worldly life, you do something with good intention, instead of producing success, you produce failure because of so many other factors. We'll study that in verse number 47. For example, I give an example. You get headache, and you take ibuprofen, Advil, and you get stomachache. You get headache plus stomach. Headache may become less, but stomach will be there, or both will be there. So that kind of adverse side effect, pratyavaya means adverse side effect will not be there in spiritual practice. There is no, you cannot go wrong if you take the name of God, or if you do your work properly, you can't go wrong. There is no adverse side effect. Very positive message. So it gives us encouragement to do all our work as spiritual practice. Swalpam apyasya dharmasya. Of this dharma, he's going to explain the dharma, how to perform our duties, all our work, excepting immoral work which you should not do at all. Telling lies, cheating, stealing, we have stopped doing it long time ago. Excepting that, any other work that we do, spiritual or secular, if we do it as spiritual practice, will definitely succeed. There is no question of failure or loss of effort in spiritual life. Trayate mahato bhayat. It will save you from great danger. Danger means unhappiness, failure, and rebirth, and subsequent transmigratory suffering. That will not happen in spiritual life. So we'll stop here. We have already 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. If you have any questions in the next 5 minutes, you can ask me questions, 5 or 10 minutes.